Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Montar Gomez, and I come with breaking news of a tragic crime that occurred in Moscow, Idaho, known as the Idaho murders of four college students. I want to start out by extending my condolences to all family members, friends, University of Idaho, and the Moscow community as we deal with this unfortunate tragedy that hit the community. This horrendous crime that took the lives of four Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Sana Canoodle, and Ethan Chapman. The facts of the case that we know currently is that on Sunday morning on November 13, 2022, after 4 a.m., four college students from a small college town in Moscow, Idaho were fatally stabbed. The bodies of the victims were found in an off-campus house known as the King Road Residence near the University of Idaho. Regarding an unconscious and survivors who were living. No one in custody, and the suspect remains at large. However, the Moscow Police Department, along with other law enforcement agencies such as Lake County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, also known as the FBI, is working diligently to apprehend the perpetrator before he potentially strikes again. These are the pictures of the victims who unfortunately were killed in this unfortunate tragedy. Kaylee Goncalves, age 21, Madison Mogan, age 21, Sana Canoodle, age 20, and Ethan Chapman, age 20. Based on a witness statement from one of the survivors, this is the description that we have of the suspect. We know he's a white male, roughly between late 20s to early 30s, approximately 5'10", with an athletic build. He has bushy eyebrows. During the scene of the crime, he was seen wearing black clothing and wore a mask covering his mouth and nose. The first criminal statute violated was first-degree murder, known as the Idaho Code 18403, subsection A, which states that all murder is disdained by means of lying in wait, or poison, or torture, when torture is caused with the intent to provoke suffering, to carry out vengeance, coerce something for the victim, or give satisfaction to some sadistic impulse, or which is perpetrated by any kind of deliberate, willful, and premeditated killing, is the murder of the first degree. The suspect committed 4 counts of murder, and evidence found at the crime scene indicates that this was a premeditated killing. The murder was carried out by the suspect using some form of weapon, in this case a knife. The second criminal statute violated is burglary, known as the Idaho Code 181401, which states every person who enters any house, room, apartment, tenement, store, shop, warehouse, mill, barn, stable, outhouse, or building, tent, vessel, vehicle, trailer, airplane, railroad, car with the intent to commit any theft or felony is guilty of burglary. The suspect entered the student's residence or home with the intent to commit a homicidal crime. The point of entry was on the first floor through the kitchen sliding door, with no signs of forced entry, and the suspect proceeded to the third floor of the residence where he fatally stabbed the first 2 victims. The first criminal act committed is homicide by stabbing, which was 4 counts of murder. The suspect maliciously murdered the 4 victims with an edge-sharp weapon, presumably a large fixed-blade knife, as a knife sheath was retrieved from the crime scene and taken to the crime lab for processing. The victims were found with multiple stab wounds and defensive wounds. The second criminal act committed was burglary. The suspect entered the house unlawfully with a deliberate plan to commit a felony. He entered the place of residence with a weapon and wore a mask to keep his identity hidden. The modus operandi, also known as the suspect's MO, was that the suspect may have stalked his victims at the residence to learn the day-to-day routine. The elements of the crime scene and the syringe footage captured indicate that the victims were targeted and it was a planned attack. The suspect operated in the middle of the night, assuming that their targets was asleep and no witnesses were around. The suspect used a large knife as a choice of weapon based on the cause of death, had it silent and does not draw attention. I want to issue a public warning that based on the details of the scene, we believe that this was an isolated target attack on the victims. However, we cannot guarantee that there is no threat to the community. For all university students of Idaho or any students outside of the University of Idaho attending all colleges and residents of Moscow and nearby towns, be aware of your surroundings at all times as the suspect is still at large and has not been apprehended. Please stay vigilant and report any suspicious activity. Based on surveillance footage retrieved, it has been discovered that a white 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra with an unknown license plate was shown circling in the area of the King Road residence during the early hours of Sunday, November 13. Please notify the tip line if you're aware or possess a vehicle that fits this description, or if you know of anyone who might have been driving this particular vehicle in the days leading up to or the day of the triple murders. If you have any questions about the case or have information that can be helpful in the investigation, I highly encourage you to call the tip line listed in the City of Moscow website under the Moscow Homicide Update provided by Moscow Police Department. Thank you.